Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. Today, I have something a little bit special for you all. I inherited my grandfather's clock, a legit grandfather clock. And today I'll be building a part for it because it's missing one. And I'll be doing it by eye, so we'll see. But I'll let everyone shuffle in here. We'll have ourselves a little chat. We'll have a conversation. And I'll be working on a little something. It'll be great. It's like a win-win. And Mr. Copper Dog's out there in the shop. I'm seeing you, buddy. It's a good boy. How's everyone doing? Hey, Ko? I hope I'm spelling that, or cow, maybe? I don't know. I hope I'm saying it right. I'm not butchering your name. William, hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Roseanne, yeah, happy afternoon. But more importantly, happy Sunday. You know, Sundays are a great day for rest, kind of realigning yourself before we go kicking butt in the next week to come. But yeah, it's gonna be great. Cold and windy, so all right, okay, all right, good deal. Cold and windy is great sometimes. Maybe not so much windy, but cold is all right. Makes you all snuggle up and get something, warm in your cup. You know what I mean? Hello from South Africa. How cool is this? Woven, it's so good to always have you. I'm glad Sunday chats at least won't get banned. True. Very true. Like, they can try and stop us. We're going to find a way to get together. You got it, Max? I answer to either. Oh, very good. I'm glad I got at least close. It's not fun when the shop and the forge aren't lit. Yes, it's true. Like, steel has a property to just like suck any warmth that you have out of your hands. And man, if you like smash your finger or jam it in something, hurts like the dickens. Okay, I have some very exciting news for you guys. So it was my mom's birthday yesterday. So I took her out to lunch and she is doing like what the heck is this? Hey, 13 months mythic. Dude, cheers. Look at you. It's one of the members. How fantastic. So, actually, where's Copper? He's right there. Copper, you want to see him? Copper, come here. Copper, come here. He's like, no, I'm in the sun. Copper dog, come here, dude. Come here. He's like, I don't want to get out of the sun. Come here, Copper dog. Yay, Mythic, right? Oh, and look. Here you go, Mythic. Here's Mr. Copper dog. He's a good boy. He is 100% genuine Copper dog. Look at him. Look at him. Oh, he's the best freaking boy. Okay, so I inherited my grandfather's clock, a legit grandfather clock, grandfather's possessive clock. And it's cool. It's got a rad story behind it, but it hasn't ticked in a long time. Mythic, what in the world? Appreciation. Mythic, you quit it. You stop it. You're being far too generous. Look at your anvil is like on fire, dude. Oh, for those of you that don't know, the longer that you've been a member, the hotter your anvil gets, and his is sparkling hot. Sparkling. If you didn't know, when you get steel that hot, it sparkles. The more you know, right? But check this out. This was inside of it. So I've been doing a lot of research of how this clock is supposed to function because it hasn't ticked in 50, 60 years probably. I don't know. It's Sunday. I'm not mathing today. You know what I'm saying? But I have this diagram. I found the part that is missing in this clock. And it's right here. It's kind of a crap diagram. I don't know who drew it. But I was able to extrapolate from what's inside of the clock and what is here. If it is in fact drawn to scale, I can make it. And I'm going to make it right now. Because I know a guy that can work some metal. You know what I mean? It's you never know when you might need it. Okay. I don't even know where my damn brass went. There it is. Okay. Also, there is some tea to be spilt on this clock. It's got a wild history. My mom just like nonchalantly dropped that he had like a mistress. What? It's crazy. It's crazy. Like all the tea. Okay. Okay, so I always save my materials, right? So I got this lovely chunk of brass. It's about 1/8 inch. It's a little bit big for this process. Been there, done that. So I actually have this little piece that's about, I can't quite tell the perfect gauge, but I think this will do it. Now, I've taken some notes from the clock. So I'm just gonna get to work here. You know what I mean? But are there any questions? I got you guys, Smith. Like, you're the best. That looks dope as hell, right? I can't wait to get this thing ticking. Today, it's gonna tick again. Hell or high water. So, where's my notes? There's my notes. All right. So I've taken some notes down for my parameters. Are you a carpenter, Ross? No, I'm a blacksmith, baby. But today I'm a clock repairman. Apparently, you know, you never know what you'll be doing. You know what I mean? Where am I from? I'm from Paso Robles, California. Anyone with a grandfather clock has a mistress. Matt. Well, it's funny because, you know, I grew up pretty darn poor and they weren't affluent in any stretch of the imagination. So it's kind of wild to like, because I think of a grandfather clock as this like symbol of success and all this, you know. Can you make a Glock switch sometime? Oh, I mean, I could make one by hand. I love the gate behind you. Looks amazing. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's the ginkgo gate that I'm currently building. But, you know, my attention's on that tomorrow. Today, I'm focused on this lovely little clock. Okay, so right now I need to get my grid down. But anyways, I'm just going to be hanging out. You guys feel free to hang out with me. I'll answer questions as I go. Hello from Russia. Hello. I love the game. Well, he has one. I mean, it's true. He would have one. Bruce Wayne would, of course, have one. All right. So my main width that I'm looking at is 3/8. 3/8. There's this little channel that has to go back and forward to the crown gear escapement, right? Much like actually, I forgot something. Darn it. So the pendulum, this tool, this piece that was missing, pretty much attaches the crown gear that goes back and forth, that allows a little bit of movement to escape the counterweights, right? The counterweights just want to just pull, and then that's it, almost like a rod and reel, right? But the crown gear, it makes them escape at a certain rate, thanks to the length of the pendulum, much like a metronome, right? Those old school metronomes with the little weight that goes up and down, that, you know, give it the pace, right? Slow, you know, really slow is you have the weight way out there and it's going click, clock, click. You bring the weight really close, it goes click, 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 right? So, here we go. My main width for this piece of material is going to be 3/8, but at the bottom where the pendulum attaches, there's going to be a 3/8 opening. So I need about 1/8 each side. So I'm looking at, I'm crunching some numbers, so be patient with me. I'm going to put an 1/8 on either side of where the pendulum attaches. That's going to be my first measures. I then have to bend it on a 90 and then bend it back on a 90 because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of the parts with this tool. Okay, there we go. So overall, we're looking at about 5/8 that I'll be cutting out of this piece of brass. Now, I'm not a clock maker or anything like that. Actually, well, I've made clocks and I make clockwork. So I guess in some ways I kind of am. But I don't know. I think that's one heck of a title that I don't think I'm worthy of. You know, it's funny. There was this really cool clock shop that I would go to in my hometown back in the day, that I'd go and visit, and I'd always try to visit around noon because that's when all the clocks and cuckoo clocks would all just kind of go apeshit a little bit. And it was a lot of fun. But I'd go in there and I'd buy his stock of like little gears and stuff like that because I really enjoyed them, you know? Okay, so now that we got our width figured out, we need to now start talking about our overall length. You know, because there's two pins, there's two really important measures that I need to land on. And that is about 4 3/16, somewhere between 4 3/16 and 4 5/16 from just like looking by eye at what needs to happen, and also this cool old booklet. There's a diagram in this booklet that it looks to be to scale. So I'm able to extrapolate those measurements from. But to do this, I think I'm gonna have to make this quite adjustable. So what I'm thinking about doing, and weight, I can always add weight. It's hard to take weight away. That's why I'm going thin. And so I can always add stuff, you know, to slow the pendulum down. You know what I mean? Okay. I'm not too sure if you guys are tracking or not. Let me know. I could be speaking a foreign language for all you know? Okay. I think actually number one now, I need to find center. So let's start with center. So center 5/8, 5/16. Real easy. You just have the hind number. Real easy stuff. Be much easier on a workbench, but you know what? We're doing it live. We're doing literally. All right. I'm thinking about probably going about 5 inches for the overall, just so that, because there is the bottom, I can't change much. It's where these two little prongs go. They just hook right over the bottom of this suspension arm, the suspension armature that goes to the back of this clock. But the top, however, I can make an adjustment. I can make that an adjustable part. So that's what we're gonna do. Favorite clock? Ooh, favorite clock that you've ever worked on? Maxim, that's a fantastic question. I'm not a clock maker. I'm not a clock worker. I would never assume that title. Actually, I'm shy of tea. Let me tell you a little story over a cup of tea. Now, it's kind of interesting. I'm a blacksmith by trade, an artist. You know, I make gates, I make chandeliers, I do all sorts of stuff like that. But in my travels, in my history, I have had some pretty interesting requests. Like, I handmade a giant tower clock, a 6-foot diameter giant ass tower clock. It was really fun to build. But I think one of my favorite clock jobs, I guess, was for a turret clock from about like the 16th century. I'm not even kidding. So those were kind of the first clocks to ever come about. You know, it's these big things and it goes like this and it swings back and forth. It's just a wild thing. Wild rig. But it was missing pieces and it travels all across Europe, right? And it's this old piece. And for it to be a museum grade turret clock, I actually had to build, oh, Max's tower clock is right there. Looky there. Boom. Casey's on it. Yeah. Anyways, let me realign here. It was missing some pieces, but to be a museum grade piece, it had to be forged by a blacksmith. Luckily, he found me. I forged it, but it also had to be made from period materials. And he found a piece of iron, actual iron from Germany, from it was like 1/2 inch by 2-inch bar from a carriage from about like early 1700s. So we're about 100 years off or 200 years off, but still quite old. And it was a dream to forge. It was like forging butter, spreading like warm butter, like soft butter over like hot toast. It was creamy, baby. It was beautiful. And I forged these parts and they were like, everything was all Morse and tenon where you tighten everything with swedges. And it was a joy to build. And I think that was my favorite clock to work on. So Long roundabout story. So sorry. But yeah, that was it. Okay, now I need, for these prongs that go over the suspension spring, he says little, like we're talking like half a hair's width spring where this pendulum hangs from. I think I need, because that's my adjustment, right? The length of the pendulum, the length of the metronome, where the weight is, so it's the speed that this clock runs. Could say it was about time you told us. Oh, rage. Well done, my friend. That was great. I think I can put about 3/8. I can eat 3/8 of, actually, let's throw a ½ inch in there. Why not? We got the room. We got the room. So let's put a ½ inch into it. Because I want that adjustability. Because I can have a ½ inch of whatever going straight down. You know, it won't, because there's like chimes and stuff in this clock. It's beautiful. I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait. Okay. So there's one of our measures, right? So we're burning a ½ inch. Now, sorry, I'm going to do some math real quick. 4 and I'm going to call it a quarter because it is somewhere, it lies, my true measurement lies somewhere within 4 3/16 and 5/16. I'm going to call it 4 1/4. And I can go up or down therein, you know, somewhere in there. I like to have a little bit of adjustability, especially when it comes to telling proper time. Because there's nothing more embarrassing than a clock that doesn't tell proper time. You know what I mean? It's no good. It's no bueno. Okay, so sharing what we got so far. I can't really hardly see a damn thing in there. Okay, well, there we go. There it is. Okay, you can see it in the shine. Okay, we have a lot more to go, so bear with me. Are you working on a new clock? Harry, yeah! So it's legit my grandfather's clock. That's kind of a tongue twister, but it's never run. It was at my mom's place. She just had her birthday, and I went over there to take her out to lunch, and she gave it to me to rebuild and fix. So I'm excited. I'm locked in. Okay, let's start at the top and work our way down. There's about a 1/16 gap where the suspension spring I need between the two hooks that then go over these tiny, like micro freaking scopic pins. Tiny, teeny, tiny, teeny, tiny. Now, since I'm using probably if I'm going to go off of the gauges that the rest of this clock is made upon the interior, this is going to be slightly lighter material than this part was previously made out of. But I can always add weight. Remember, it's easy to add weight. It's harder to kind of take that off. So I'm going to go a little heavy on the actual prongs that are going to hold up this pendulum inside of this clock. I like the looks of this. Sorry, I know you can't see what the hell I'm doing, but trust me. I'm seeing an LOO. What happened? If a job sucks, throw a clock out of the window and watch time fly. The clock puns in this place. William, yeah, go enjoy. Depending on the material. Are there any pad foots inside of the clock too? Oh, that's cute. That's real cute. Okay. I'm going to bring that down. Now, so what I'm currently working on, let's go, how far down do I want to go? That's the question. Now, this is where we're at, right? Ooh, there you go. Now you can see it. Okay. So those are my 2 prongs. I just ran the bottoms out wild. We'll see where they'll end up. We're going to watch the numbers begin to kind of chase each other. That's where a lot of my adjustability is going to be. I'm actually going to bring this down a little bit of a ways. Hopefully my snips are detailed enough to make this happen. To be able to carve that little 16th inch hair out betwixt these 2 little prongs that are going to hold up from the suspension spring. Okay, now things get a little hairy. So what I'm going to do, let me adjust my little rig here. There we go. Now, actually, yeah. So this is where things get a little funky. I don't have unlimited adjustability here because this part is going to be flat in this direction, right? And then it's going to hook over these 2 little prongs that are like this. Boink. Suspension springs in the center, right? Boink. I only got 1 inch until this thing needs to be a complete, look at the little copper dog emoji. I love it. Now, so we've got this little pin, right? And this thing's gonna hold over it. It's all just held in by little hopes and dreams. I'm used to giant riveted monstrosities of armatures and everything's hang on tight. Clocks are made by just little whimsical parts, little tiny light things. Anyways, but I only have 1 inch until I have to make a complete 90-degree turn. And I'm gonna twist that 3/8. I could score it. If it takes too much time to twist that 3/8 to make that nice in 90 degrees, and then it has to go back. So we got a tall order, folks. So from this measurement here, I have exactly 1 inch. I'm gonna call it a 1/2 inch because it's gonna take quite a bit of time for that bar to make that 90-degree transition. Okay? Is that making any sense? You are the man of multiple hours. Ooh, because of all the time zone. You know what? I like that. And it just so happens we're working on a clock. How great. Okay, I'm going to give it a 1/2 inch because the 1 inch mark is down here. And I feel like with the 3/8, I could make that happen in that much time. Now, another thing to consider that I just thought about. I'm going to lose a little bit of length with the twist. A little bit. We're talking 30 seconds, but when it comes to clocks, 30 seconds are a mile. Hi, how you doing? Favorite type of paper? I've been slowly getting into watercolors, and watercolor paper is pretty darn cool. It's very thick, absorbent, hardy stuff. But you know what I do really like? Just a good old-fashioned grid paper. Big bond sheets, because there's nothing but possibilities there within. Also, happy Sunday, everybody. Cheers. Okay. So what I might do, in fact, is let this run wild and do the bottom after the twist. It's funny. When people think of oh, what do I charge for just a simple little job? There's a lot of trade anecdotes out there because you're not just, when it comes to your art, when it comes to your creativity, when it comes to your trades, and when it comes to pricing something, it's oh gosh, okay, this only took me 5 minutes. I'm just going to give it to them. It's not just the 5 minutes that you spent working for them or the 3 hours, whatever it might be. It's the 20 some odd years or however long you've been doing that of culmination that they're paying for. You know what I mean? I have a hard time billing. I have a hard time asking for my worth when it comes to work. So I'm also trying to talk to myself here. But I'm thinking about moments that I've had with giant pieces of steel just like this one, and I know that it's going to shrink, but just a little bit by that twist. So think about that next time you're charging somebody, because that's also part of your billing. Okay. I got my measures up from the top down. This is where I'm going to begin my twist and where I'm going to end. Actually, I'm gonna go halfway for my, what the hell would I even call this? Okay. I know this doesn't look like anything right now, but I promise it's all gonna take shape very soon. Okay, let's recap. Here's my two little hook prongs that will go over the suspension spring. This is the body of the suspension armature. This is where my little groove is going to end, and at the 3/8 will just kind of begin. This is the beginning of my twist, and that's where it needs to be at 90 degrees. You with me so far? You're near Portland. I got family in Portland. They're my favorite people in the entire world, so, you know, for the most part. Let's get to cutting. Ooh, it feels so final, right? It's almost like cutting into a fresh piece of like construction paper as a kid. You're just like, oh God, it's like I'm about to commit, you know what I mean? But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut that center recess out of there first. Quiet on the set, I need to focus. Favorite type of tree right now, Maxim, it's the ginkgo tree, because I'm just being totally obsessed with it. First cut, here we go. I gotta remember which mark is which. Got it. You know, it's fun. Clockwork is delicate stuff. And I kind of enjoy delicate. It's quite a juxtaposition, quite a transition from my usual big honking ironwork where there's delicate too. Don't get me wrong. But when you're forging 4 by 1/2 inch bar, you could put some onion down. You know, you can add some onion to it. But this, I really enjoy delicate work, like jewelry making and clockwork and stuff. I feel like it's very interesting and good to be multifaceted and not just be one or the other. Well, and that worked like a freaking dream. Okay, here we are. I made my little teeny tiny incision. There's the little wire that's coming out, right? And I'll be taken out of there. I can't get there. There it is. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now, the biggest thing is I don't want to warp this stuff too much, right? Can't warp this stuff too much. Get rid of that thing. Okay. Let me straighten this up. I want to straighten this up. Oh, and you know what? When you get to work on delicate little work, I'm no longer swinging my 12-pound hammer. I get to work with little teeny tiny hammers, little dink, dink, dinks. So let me straighten this stuff up. I definitely don't want to be backing myself into a wall or something like that. Just grab these like little nips and try to get that little wire out of there, right? Pulling that away. Pull that material back out of there. Okay, if you're interested in this type of stuff, I teach blacksmithing classes. That's just like this. It's a lot of fun. It's through Patreon. We got a, there's Harry right there. Boom. That's one of my apprentices right there. I'm deeply proud of the guy. He's doing great stuff. All right. Did that come down far enough? Because I kind of want to go past a little bit. I'm going to take just a little bit more material out of this thing, which is kind of difficult after the fact. I'm going to trim the excess out of that. Watch your eyeballs. You know what? Actually, these would probably do a much better job at cutting that at a much closer radius. Oh, yeah. Much better. I'm going to cut this past just a little bit. Max, you're too kind. No, you're just too talented, buddy. Proud of you. I'm going to go past by maybe another 16th. Because like I told you, a 16th and a 32nd is miles with this type of work. Which is funny because I like high stakes. Also, I really enjoy medium rare steaks. We're punny today. We're awfully punny today, folks. But yeah, we just wrap things up. Speaking of Patreon, we just wrap things up at the tea time. That's a blast. You know, it's a Zoom call where we just get to talk about creativity, what projects you guys are working on. We get to boost each other up. Brian, love it here. I love it here too. I'm glad you're here, man. Huge Texas steak. We love the question. I'll try to help Max answer some. Oh, yes. Yeah, please answer your questions. I'm sorry, I've been so focused. Okay, now, to get this measurement down really far down, because I kind of split the difference, right? I'm taking that piece out. What I'm doing is I'm taking my end, not my end snips, my dikes, and I rolled that down. I used rotational pressure to really peel that as far down as I possibly can. And then I'll be using these with just a nice little, cut that right nice and good. Oh yeah, see, that's a beaut. Now I'm not gonna be able to get it. Ooh, actually, you know what? I will be able to get it. It's super close. Check this out. I got my files, right? And I'm just gonna take that burr and use my file, only pushing, right? When you're using a file, only push, never drag. Because you're carving like little scoops out of that. Oh, and see, that's a thing of beauty right there. Now what I'm gonna do, right? Nice and flat, nice and flat. I'm gonna take my hammer and I'm just gonna put that back. Because I want just nice, crisp, and clean edges. So that's where we're at right now. Looking good. Now, we're gonna assess the outsides of this material. I'm gonna leave the line. You know, because we're literally, hi from India. Hello, welcome. That's cool. I love that we get to share time together from people all around the world. How cool is that? Community that ignores borders and crosses oceans. We're people, man. It's cool that we can get together and talk about creation, creativity, and just being a good person. Cheers, my friends. Opinion on what? Frasium? Fracium? What is that? That sounds like a rabbit hole to me. How am I? You know what? I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty all right, and I hope you are too. So I'm going to cut pretty much the outside diameter, which is actually going to, let me check. Because now I just remembered something that I'm glad I remembered. Our outer dimension is not, in fact, 5/8. It is 3/8. So I need to actually set that now before I go just willy-nilly cutting. But you know what? It's darn perfect. It's just darn perfect. This clock is gonna tick hell or high water today. Okay, so we got our center mark. We have the outsides of our suspension armature hooks, plural. Let me get my little hammer out of the way. Okay. Now I'm just gonna pull this line right all the way down. Just run that wild. I can't tell if that machine is a rototiller or what. Okay. Now, T, very important. Okay, so now here's what we're working with. We're going down now. So this line here is our outside diameter, or not diameter, but our outside measurement of what's going to be passing through this kind of lever that goes to the crown gear, to the escapement, that is then going to tick the clock. Ooh, it's an element on the periodic table. It's a radioactive element that has a half-life of 22 minutes. And it's the most expensive element. Whoa, that's crazy. Per gram maximum, that's unreal. Well, it's radioactive. I probably won't touch the stuff. They should launch you in Vikings. I mean, shoot, you never know. I rarely say no. You know, I'm down for whatever. Okay, so now, okay. We have some decisions to make. Now that armature, from the start, from where the pins are to the suspension spring, about 1 inch down is where we need to be at 90 degrees. I'm gonna put a 90-degree twist. Pretty much a 1, if you know that style of blacksmithing, a 1 twist, 90 degrees into this thing, and then I gotta go back. And then this whole piece opens back up to now 5/8 for where the pendulum hangs from this suspension armature. Where and when do I go to that 5/8? I kind of want to give it a little extra because I do believe I'm using a little bit smaller gauge than what the rest of the clock is, because it would make too much sense that the gauge of this part that is missing from this clock is made from the same gauge that some of these other little armatures are made inside of the clock currently. I doubt they would go to different gauges willy-nilly, you know? It would make very little sense inside of a well-functioning shop, especially clockmakers. Everything's very sensical. So what I might do, I might pull up 1 inch, and therein lies our ability to add or especially subtract mass to this pendulum so that it keeps proper time. Let's see. 1 inch should be plenty. Or do I add more? I'm gonna add more. I could always take more off. I don't want to, but I'm using my intuition. I'm gonna go 1.5 inches. I'm gonna go 1.5 inches. And you know what? Maybe I'll be able to put a little bit of a radius. No! See, there I am trying to get all fancy, right? I'm always trying to get all fancy pants McGee, you know? Let me start taking some notes. Pin. Start of my twist. Lever. Uh, 5/8. Pendulum. And then that just goes wild. Like, I know that's just gibberish for a lot of you, but that's where we're at, guys. We're building this part. Now, it's somewhere in there. Because I'm leaving this measurement wild, because I might lose a tiny bit of material. It might shrink up a little bit after the twist, right? Okay, let me return back to the chat. I'm so sorry I've been neglecting you guys. Ooh, Pandak asks, have I watched Attack on Titan? I used to love Attack on Titan. It was very dark. But you know what I've just been recently watching, anime style, is Blue Eye Samurai. I've been enjoying the heck out of that. Have I ever attempted fire gilding? Not really, no. I'm always down to attempt something. Here we go. We're taking material away. Which, I'm tempted. Which side do I want to start on? I want to take some away off of this side first. Here we go. I'm going to leave the line so I can always take more off. You can't, it's a little difficult putting stuff back on, you know, once it's taken away. Let's just go for it. I got more brass if I need to redo this. But yeah, I'm just kind of building this part by eye and intuition. We'll see how she goes. You know what I mean? Here, you know what? I just realized I can do like something like this. Let me get, there we are. Okay. I can't see very well, but you tell me if I start messing up. I'm doing this just nice and slow, very methodical. There's no rush here. We got all the time in the world because the clock isn't running. Sorry, that was bad. That was a bad pun. We're just taking our sweet time. And the reason I'm using these snips rather than like 10 snips with the little serration on it is I do not want the little nubbings in this part. I want it nice and clean as it is right now. Look, right? Okay, now we're just gonna trim that little section off because now we are out at that 5/8 outer dimension, right? And you know what? I'm gonna nip the rest of that off. And I'm gonna save this little piece of brass. Watch your eyeballs. Hold on to your butts. Yep, there we are. Because that right there is now just like a lovely thing that I can make a lot of stuff with that. That's treasure. Okay, now. Where do I want to nip the bottom of this thing? I got more stuff to think about. Where'd my pencil go? There it is. Oh, God. I didn't look. I was a little careless. Almost reached down and like boing, like off my anvil. Could you imagine? Luckily, I got a big old hard head. I got like a size 8 head even before I had hair. Like just a melon. I think it's like 2 inches of skull though. I don't think it's like I got a big brain or anything. William, you're back. I wonder if a bunch of time metaphors were made for people making clocks. I mean, for sure. You know? Like one of my favorites is, I'm right twice a day like a broken clock, you know? Have I watched Grave with the Fireflies? No, because I've been warned that it's very sad. And I have a very big soft heart. And I will be a mess. I will be inconsolable probably. I've done that. Ooh, yeah. Okay. So this is the measurement as it stands right now where the pendulum will hook and do its thing. I want to be able to have maybe a little bit of mass below that so I can take some material away if it needs to be longer, right? If the pendulum needs to swing slower, right? Think of our pendulum metaphor. So what I'm gonna do, but I don't know that measurement until I give it the twist. Giving it the twist sounds very dirty, but keep your minds out of the gutter, all right? Let me grab some tea. What I'm gonna do, let's just try to keep it on this piece of material. And so I have like a nice big handle to handle it. You know what I mean? All right, can you handle it? That's actually a blacksmithing term. For people, or actually just a trade term, for putting a handle on tools. Can you handle this? Fun, right? Okay, anyways, let's stay focused. Leaving the line, which is like a 256th, But every bit counts in something like this, something this delicate. And, clocks, I think that's one of the magical things about clocks is just how perfect they have to be, Hello from Romania, George. Welcome, my friend. My teacup, your teacup says hello. Yo! That's awesome. Did you make your scissors? Harry, I did not. I found these. I don't even know where I found these. Probably like some garage sale or something. And I was like, ooh, gotta have those. And they still cut like great. I'm just taking my very sweet time. And the nice thing about leaving the line, so like, if you're not familiar with that terminology, you can see as I cut, I'm leaving the line that I made, literally just the width of my lead on my mechanical pinches, which is 0.05, teeny tiny, real teeny tiny. Slicing that because, first of all, you have your matrix still. You have your parameters, and but a whisper of a file, you can take that right away. So I really enjoy leaving my lines so I continue to have my measurements and all that good stuff. Also, if you guys want little tips on like tin snipping and also scissors in general, I'm not looking, to try and keep straight to make a nice clean line. You see how clean that stinking line is? Been doing it a while. Thanks. I'm not looking where I'm cutting. I'm looking where the tip of the scissors are, right? I know that I'm like that. It's not straight, but that, there, right there, I know that cut's gonna be laser straight. I hope that helps. A lot of you guys are probably like, yeah, duh. I don't know. Especially when I'm like teaching my Patreon students, I try not to assume that everyone knows certain things. You know what I mean? Have you forged a medieval sword? Oh, I've done way more cool stuff than a medieval sword. I forged rayless blades. They actually function and stuff. They, and then they come out. All right, we are about there. So that means I cannot, you know what I'm gonna do? No, yes, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put a little bit of a taper on the tips, on the forked tips of these like little armature hooks. Not sure why, I just gotta. Okay, now this width is looking good. Ooh, what's your most expensive tool? It's a good question. Probably one of my welders. Probably. Maybe my anvil. Like literally my most expensive tool is maybe like $500 or so. Everything's by hand here. I don't have a $10,000 power hammer. You know what I mean? I enjoy like humble tools, and one day I can't wait to have like big pieces of equipment and stuff like that to be able to move my monstrosities around. But right now, like my most expensive tool is like $500. Hilarious, right? Especially because like what I end up building goes for a lot more than $500. What is your most useful tool? My noggin. We don't often think enough about our experiences, our creativity, our intuition, our eye as tools. But it's like sharpening a blade. It can always be sharper. So investing in your mind, that right there, my friends, is your most valuable tool. Okay, here we go. Where was I even? I'm gonna have to cut this thing out. We're gonna have to go for it. But I might cut the window out first. Now there's gonna be a window in this thing. There's going to be a window in this thing right in this area. I could drill it out and file it out, but I got myself a little cut and chisel, which I believe the width is 3/8, which is exactly what I need. Nope, it's 1/2 inch. Crap. I might have to make a tool real quick. But as a blacksmith, it's easy to do. Let's see what I got. See? Whenever I wear out a tool that I made a long time ago, look at that. It curled up on itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grind that out, make it sharp enough just to cut this brass, and that'll just take a quick minute of grinding. That's it. There's no idea what type of steel this is, but it's hard, especially when it says, use safety glasses on it. This was probably a center punch at some point, and then I turned into a bit of a tool that I softened. But I'm going to grind on it a little bit, make that cutting tool real quick. You know, it's even if you're not going to do this trade as a, you know, as your job, it's just very useful to have. Case in point, you need a tool, you can make it. Now that would end up being just over 3/8. So I'm going to make this tool to give me 3/8, so I can make I can cut a 3/8 by 3/8 window right out of there. So hang out, talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to find my safety McGlarses around here somewhere, and I'm going to make this tool real quick. So hang out, talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. You're talking amongst yourselves, right? Okay, be good. All right, I'll be right down. Alrighty, piece of freaking cake. Not even cake, freaking cake. See, zoink, nice and sharp. I'm not gonna worry about hardening this thing because unnecessary. It's cut in brass, she's soft enough. All right, now, and I'm only doing 4 cuts. Piece of cake. I always wanna make darn sure, what, right in darn front of me, that we're looking at 3/8. And by golly, it's almost like I should do this for a job or something. Unreal. Got the safety squints? No, safety glasses, always safety glasses. Speaking of most important tools, eyeballs. They're irreplaceable. I know you got 2 of them. You know, you got a spare, but depth perception, very important stuff. Okay, now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this window out, but not yet. But not yet. I wanna do it. See, it's like almost like standing on one foot after another. You're like, before I do that, I gotta do this. Oh, but before I do this, I gotta do that. Because remember, if I give this thing the twist, I don't know if I'm gonna lose some length. You know what I mean? But I kinda wanna leave it in here. In here meaning with the rest of the material. So let me just take a measurement and just make sure I'm looking good. Yeah, 4 1/4. And that's where my adjustability will come through. How do I want to do this, guys? All right, I'm just going to make an arbitrary cut. I'm making an executive decision. We're doing it live. We're gonna go. I'm gonna leave some mass at the bottom. I'm just gonna eyeball 90 degrees. There we go. Whoo! Exhilarating. I gave it the cut. Let's cut it out of there. How do I want to do that? I don't want to bend this thing all to heck, but you know, I might gotta. This is good for straight cuts, but doing a little turn like that, turning, warp stuff out a little bit. It could come from the back. That's what I'm gonna do. Because I already got this thing curled up a little bit. I'm gonna get it out of there. So I need ultimate focus while I'm doing this. Because you can't put it back. Well, you can, but it's going to be costly for time. I did it on accident. I made another clock pun. There it is. That was a very satisfying little click as we take this away. Now, whew, she's out. I'm gonna trim the little excess here. Right? Little blink. I want a nice square. I don't want to cut past too much, but I want a nice square cut on everything. Makes it nice because you can trust the measurements and all of that good stuff, right? Okay. First things first, let's flatten it out. I want to get this thing back. I don't want to just use my imagination on this thing. I want to just be able to see it nice and flat because right now we're dealing with a wonky thing. Also, helps work harden this piece a little bit. I'm able to work harden it just a wee bit. Where's there it is. I was like, that's not the hammer I want. I'm putting a bit of a spring to this. Okay. Now we're cooking. Just always, like, it doesn't matter if you're putting your iron back into the forge. It's always good to work with, something nice and flat, especially if you're working with, something that requires real straightness and all that good stuff. Yes, indeedy. Okay. I think the moment is nigh. The moment is Bill nigh. Max, have you ate titanium? I mean, probably on accident. Like I forged my wedding band and my wife's wedding band out of the same material. I've been working with titanium. So inadvertently, yeah, I've probably consumed some titanium. You bet. What am I making? Dale, great question. So let me just do a little recap for those that are just joining me. I inherited my grandfather's clock, a grandfather clock, which is crazy because I grew up with this stinking thing, but inside was the booklet, and it's never ticked. It's never run in my entire life. I've never seen it run, and but I found a diagram inside of the part that was missing. So I'm currently making this part to finally make this clock tick, and by golly, it's ticking today. So now I got to cut the window out for so this is the suspension armature. These are going to turn into hooks that are going to wrap over the pin of the suspension spring. And down here at the bottom is where the pendulum attaches. There's a 3/8 little window that I now need to cut. But before I go and do that, at this mark here, I must begin a 90-degree bend. And honestly, I don't need it to flatten out until much later. So between here and here, I need to put 90 degrees into it. I'm tempted where I want to do that. Like I could do it here on my vise, but it's a kind of biggest thing is getting it 90 degrees. And what I'm going to do, okay? I don't know why I'm not nervous, but I'm a little Twitter-pated. I'm thinking about all the things all the contingencies, all the things that could go wrong right now. Let's go for it. This is how I'm going to do it. Like I've said before, my work is usually freaking huge, giant, bulky, and heavy, but I do love little tiny tools you know, like from these little hammers. I love to get to use them when I'm working on jewelry and stuff like that. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to get this thing down to where it's just an absolute baby's breath, a frog hair cut 3 ways, you know what I mean? And that's what's gonna be my twisting tool. And I'm gonna put a 1 twist. For those blacksmiths out there, that is a 1. A 4 is 360 degrees, a 2 is 180. And you know what a 3 is, right? So I'm gonna put a 1 into it and turn it 90 degrees and then back the other way. So let's see. But I'm really curious to see actually how much material this twist eats up. That looks like 90 degrees to me, baby. Cool. When we're talking about your knowledge and investing in your mind and all that good stuff, it's important. Because look, you know, I've been twisting stuff for the last like 25 years, and all of that knowledge and experience came in handy just on this funny little part. Now, it's really important that this goes squarely on all directions, right? Which helps having that center line that we carved in previously, because then I'm going to line up. Training your eye is also very important. I'll line that up on this axis, and then center of our little hooky-doos, technical term, hooky-doos, down the center of that. And by golly, we freaking nailed it, you know? It's good stuff, baby. All right, now, we got to go back the other way. Yeah, because there's hooky-doos and hooky-don'ts. It doesn't matter which way I go, but I like the idea of it doing a twist, because to me, that's a little bit more decorative. Sorry, I'm totally neglecting the chat. Investing in your mind and good health will never be a waste of time and money. Woven, couldn't have said it better myself. All right, here we go. I'm gonna set this right there. I'm gonna make sure we're at a perfect 90 degrees. Oh gosh, just training your eyes to see 90 degrees, good pitches, everything lining up. I learned that in construction. Because you're always lining up walls and studs and stuff. I don't know what there's right here. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go about a 1/2 inch. Cool. Ha! It's almost like I'm good at this stuff. All right, here we are. Right? Here we are. That is a nice 90 degrees. Okay, so as this pendulum swings, there's a little arm that goes like this. So these prongs hook over the suspension spring, right? Suspension spring. This does this, right? Pendulum goes down here, goes way down the clock, the case of the clock, just in case you were curious. Where my fingers are is this little slotted, almost looks like this, right? Like that. This little slotted armature that is on a 1-inch offset that when doing this, it turns the crown gear. The crown gear with the escapement, right? So this now action allows the clock to go tick, tock, right? Okay. Wait, have you been in construction and blacksmithing? Pen deck, yes. So when I was a kid, I started at 12 years old working on construction, just cleaning up construction sites, all of their wood cutoffs and stuff, putting into the dumpster, learning, asking questions, and then I would forge at night. So I'd work construction all day, and then I'd go, pouring concrete, digging footings, framing, all that good stuff. Framing was my favorite because in like a matter of a week, you'd all of a sudden have a house right there. It was hard work, but I did it when I was in my teens and in my 20s. And at 23, I told my boss, like, I love it here. I love the crew, but I got places to be. And I quit. And I started working for myself full time. I'll never forget it. That was the scariest moment of my life. Actually, I've had some pretty scary moments. That was not it. It was very triumphant. Now I'm just making sure that all of my, let me check, everything's lining up. Everything's looking real good and clean. I'm lining this up with now my center line, which I need to pull that over a little bit. I grew up without means. There was no hope of going to college or anything like that. So I had to figure it out kind of on my own. And I'm glad I did. It taught me a lot of perseverance. Color of the clock. It's just oak, just oak wood and brass, much like this here. It's pretty cool. It's dated in like a cool nostalgic kind of way. All right, so here we are. I don't know if you guys can line that up as well, right? Everything's looking good and true. All right, now, for curiosity's sake, let's see what happened with that 4 1/4. Let's see if that measurement changed at all. And it did. See? This is why we think. This is why we think about things. I love this. It's good to think. It's good to scientific method, right? You have a hypothesis and then you do it and then you test your results. So we like this bar shrank a little bit by, I'll tell you exactly, by a 16th. By a whole darn 16th. And I'm sure that like we could take the gauge and extrapolate from there, crunch the numbers. Tell us a few scary moments. Oh boy, no, I don't like to dwell on the past much. Okay, so now what we need to do is we're gonna pull down. We're gonna do a little pull down because this right here, oh, where is it? I must have rubbed it off, crap. I can see it. That right there is our sacred number. Sorry, that's where that is 0. That is 0. Okay? Because these little tongs are gonna fold over. But that inside diameter is our 0, right? It's this. It's not that. It's this. Because that measurement is super importante. Okay. So I'm gonna burn one too. So another little tip, when you're using a ruler or a tape measure, if you want really good measurements, we would call this burning one. And I know what you're thinking. So rather than like holding my ruler at 0, you sometimes can't quite trust where 0 is on these tape measures. What you do is you burn 1 and add 1 to all of your measurements. Okay? So I'm gonna burn 1. I know that sounds funny. I'm gonna burn 1, and I'm gonna pull down now 5 1/4. That must have not been my measurement. That's okay. You know what? I'm gonna make some adjustments here. I'm gonna pull 5 1/4. And then I'm gonna mark 1 up at the top. We're gonna do it a little bit of reverse, but that's part of it, I want this kind of more central, because our real adjustability here on this little part of this clock is gonna be here, up and down, right? Like if I come this way, but maybe a 30-second, that clock is going to click far slower. And if I come, if I lift this up, make the pendulum technically shorter, the clock is going to run faster. So it's going to be a lot of me obsessing over this darn thing, which, if you know me, I enjoy obsessing. Now is come the time to cut this window of this little tool that we just made, right? This little cute little tool. It's exactly 3/8 wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 3/8, 3/8, and then 3/8 and 3/8, and I'm going to punch that little square out of there. All right? Well, That's the plan. So actually, let me scribe out all of these measurements and things because I don't want to just kind of be eyeball on this because this is very important stuff here. You know, the way that the pendulum sits. Because if the pendulum is pulled off to the side a little bit, it won't work. All right, let me pull up 3/8. Okay. Also, thanks for spending your Sunday with me. This is fun. I enjoy interesting little projects like this, especially when I get to hear a clock ticking in my house. Never thought I would ever inherit such a thing. This is pretty darn cool for me. All right. I'm stuck. This is the window that we're about to punch out of there. Okay? That's where the pendulum hooks over this suspension armature. Now, to protect the beautiful face of my anvil, I'm going to put down a sacrificial piece of material. I mean, like that'll certainly work. You know, some 1 inch. And I'm gonna put a little hold down on it. Let's see. I haven't used this in a while, so it might take a couple hits to. Where's my hammer at? Like, and I know there's like a million hammers around me, but like, no, the hammer. Hammer. Where is she? Oh my gosh, I might have to do. Mule just have to do. I got to do some adjustment. Oh, that'll work. That's great. Perfect. Okay, we got our sacrificial piece down. Here goes nothing. This is for all the beans. Let me grab some safety McGlarses. And I'm going to probably just cut it a little bit shy so that I have some room to file. So I'm going to take much. Get this crap out of here. There we go. Straighten this thing out. Looking good. All right, now the question is, how do I want to get it out of there? Because I feel like I got enough. Ooh, okay. And this is held wild, right? See, there's our little window, swedged out a little bit. That's okay. I can actually bring that back in, right? Let's see here. I wonder if I might just need to like do a little bit more cutting on this corner. Now I'm just gonna work on those, like the edges of the picture frame. Totally forgot my safety glasses. Don't look, close your eyes, everybody. I'm in the zone though. Okay, Not hitting it hard, just working that out. Just taking my time. All right, there we go. So I don't want to swedge it too much, you know? Swedging means I'm pushing the material around. I'm just trying to get this little window out of there. I cannot wait to hear the ticking of this clock. It's not even funny. Oh, the sweetest thing in the world is watching this little guy move. All right, so there we are. Let's see if I can't. Ooh, ready? Cuckoo, cuckoo. How sweet was that? All right, let's get all of the tools out of the way. All right, we're back to the races. So you see how it's swedged out? I kind of want to bring that back in a little bit, just for my sensibilities. This is a tool. This is a part you're never going to see ever. But there's something about like the principles that you keep when it comes to what you make. Now that has to be bang on square in the center of what we're building. And I think I need to do some file work. Oh, and how sweet. I got this sweet little file and it just fits perfectly inside there. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of work. Nice and slow, take our time. Pushing, right? File work, you only push, never drag. I mean, you could skate across the top of the material, but you mainly just want to you can lift it. Because I want this hole nice and crisp. Using my anvil as a guide. I'm not touching the anvil with my file, but I'm just using it as a guide as I work with this. That's a lovely little square hole if you don't mind me asking. Okay. That's pretty good. Now, I could always add like a little pin or something like that. Just add a little mass off the side somewhere. But that's about it, guys. I'm going to take some more material off of this side. It's a little heavier than the other side. When it comes to clocks, it has to be in perfect balance. Or it'll run at wrong time, or it won't run at all. Got a little more mass to take away. We're talking grams. I don't even know. Tiny, imperceivable amounts. Ooh, here's it. Morale's high of -2. Harry, my member and apprentice. Max, do you avoid the corners folding over? Ooh. Do you avoid the corners folding over? I definitely don't like to, I'm using these files to take that rag off, right? Where the corners broke and there's that like sharp rag. I take that off with the file, if that was the question. Favorite in real life game show? Wipeout was a freaking blast. Remember that? I have such a simple sense of humor. Watching people crash and burn was like the funniest thing ever for me. Okay, now, we got this mass on the bottom here that I do not need. That was us running it wild. So I'm tempted to leave a tiny bit, right? Not taking it all the way off. But I'm gonna trim it back. We don't need that much, right? Okay. We're just about there, folks. I'm going to clean up the rest of these things. I want to make sure that, because there's very fine little parts and tiny little gears ticking all over the place, I want to make sure nothing can catch. So I'm just going to take all of this, even though we got a nice cut on it, I want to take any sharp edges off, get it all nice and cleaned up. And just in case 100 years from now, people are going to be like, "Woo, someone built this part." And I want them to know they did a good job. I don't want, somebody like, "Oh God, what hack put this thing together," Ooh, last but definitely not least. Now comes the moment on this hand-built little clock tool that we just kind of threw together expertly, hopefully. Let me just get everything nice and straight and square again, because that is very important. Let me pull up my measurement again, because now it has changed. And I'm measuring from the bottom of this little window. Burning one, right? Where the heck did my pencil go? Nobody move. The pencil's gone. Oh! I outsmarted myself on that one. All right, okay, here we go. So I'm burning one right on the bottom of that window, right? It's got to be, where's the one? I'm looking at it all backwards, right there. And then I'm transferring that 4 1/4 that diagram looks like it has right across there. Let me pull square. Now, there's another step, probably our last step on this little tool. And I'm going to need these. Pendulum, suspension armature. Now this is going to have to hook over the suspension spring. Don't need that there anymore. Probably don't need this hammer anymore. Okay. So I'm going to bend these into little hooks to grab onto that spring, right? But where the spring is suspended from, it has to be center. So it can't just be this. It's going to have to be that, right? So that it's all in line and suspended from center. Okay? First, I'm going to bend this towards us. Ooh, man, actually got more complicated more I thought about it. It's got to be square, which means my pliers aren't square, but the end that I'm folding them over is. And I kind of want to make it a little round so that I'm not like making this measurement permanent, because remember, we made this very adjustable for the clock, because if the clock is running too fast or a little bit too slow, I know I have that adjustment there. We have a lot of adjustment to do. So I'm going to just make a little bend, go up a little bit, make a little bend. Watch this thing break right now, because it's a little work hardened after being hammered out a little bit. I don't know if people hand make these things anymore. No telling, but they were today. They were today. Okay. There we go. Right? Okay. So they're nice and square, right? If you look here, it's lined up, and then it's square with that. And it's nice and flat down here. Now we got to bring that back so that it hangs square. Right now it's hanged cantilevered out. And I'm going to do one at a time. See what I'm saying? Very minor, but very important. It's funny. Like sometimes the most minor details are sometimes the most important. It's funny how that works, right? And I'll be able to adjust this once I get in the clock in like literally like 5 minutes because I can't stand it. I'm so excited. And this will never be seen by human eyes, probably ever. But my eyes saw it, your eyes saw it, and it's good to, even though it won't be appreciated, to give it your all. You know what I mean? Okay, we got that 90-degree little doodad so that it will pass into that little armature that attaches to the crown gear that makes the clock run. We got a space opened enough. Let me make sure it's probably good and square. Oh, hi, Copper Dog. You want to say hi? That's nice and square. Copper, come here. Let's say hi to nice people. Come here. What a good boy. Oh, he's been rolling around. There is Mr. Copper Dog. Okay, check her out. We got ourselves that clock part. So we got this. We used logic, right? From our booklet that was stuffed inside of this clock. Copper, quit hogging the dang. And we were able to extrapolate all of that from the diagram. Isn't that interesting, Mr. Copper Dog? I know. Oh, my stinking camera was hiding underneath the manual. But here we go. I'm ready to install it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to go get this clock ticking. Put the counterweights on. I can't wait to wind it up. Oh, I'm feeling good about this little part. You know, who knows? Today we were clockmakers. Well, everybody, thank you for joining me on this little adventure and making ourselves a new little tool. We made a tool to make a tool. All right, everybody. I hope you all have an absolute wonderful rest of your Sunday. I love you guys. But most importantly, don't forget to love each other. Do something kind for someone today. You know, it could be foot massage. It could be cooking them dinner, what have you. Maybe you'll pour them a little glass of wine or something. I don't know. Whatever's kindness to you. Go out there and do it. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. Strike true.